Dear students, my name is Dr. Nausheen Nizami and I am here to discuss with you something about the Indian public finance, in which we will try to understand what is a union budget and what are the key concepts relating to budget. So as you know that in India, every year union budget is presented by the finance minister, and basically it reveals a plan for the forthcoming financial year, as well as it reflects, it gives a glimpse on the statistics of finance pertaining to revenues and expenditures of the central government. Let us try to understand this topic in detail, which is a part of chapter 7 of public economics course. We begin this session by first trying to understand what is the meaning of budget. So budget, as I said, is a statement. It is a very broad statement about the revenues and expenditures of the central government in the financial year that has already been ongoing, and it also reflects a plan for revenue and expenditures for the forthcoming financial year. So what is an annual financial statement? So annual financial statement is generally developed under Article 112 of the Constitution, and it shows estimation of revenues and expenditures of the central government for the forthcoming financial year. It also discusses and compares this data with the estimates which were made in the previous financial year. So generally the receipts and expenditures of the central government are divided into two or three types. One is the Consolidated Fund of India, the second is Contingency Fund of India, and third is the Public Account of India. So all the details relating to these accounts and relating to the revenues and expenditures of these funds and accounts is reflected in annual financial statement. Now let us understand what is the meaning of demand for grant. So in India, as per the Indian Constitution, Article 113 basically mandates that the estimates of expenditure from Consolidated Fund of India, which is already included in AFS, Annual Financial Statement, is required to be voted by Lok Sabha and be submitted in the form of demand for grants. So basically the demand for grants may arise because of any reason, and it may be required by the states or union territories. However, the release of the money for these grants is not simple. The demand for grant for first of all has to be prepared, and then it goes to Lok Sabha, it goes to Parliament for getting approved, and only then on the basis of votes and on the basis of the gravity or the seriousness of the reason, the genuineness of the reason, the demand for grants are approved. Let's move to the next topic, which is Consolidated Fund of India. So, as the name suggests, Consolidated Fund of India is basically, it has been developed under Article 266 of the Constitution, and as part of Consolidated Fund, all the revenues which are received by government are stored in it. It also includes the loans raised by the central government and also the receipts obtained by recoveries of loans granted by central government. So together all this is included in CFI. Similarly, all expenditures of the government are incurred from Consolidated Fund of India. However, this is not possible without authorization from the Parliament. So after due authorization and permissions, the amount is released. Contingency Fund of India basically is like an imprest from Consolidated Fund of India, and this contingency fund is to be utilized only for unforeseen expenditures and after due approvals from the Parliament have been obtained. Contingency Fund of India can be of two types. In one, budgetary a budgetary amount is allocated, so currently it stands at 500 rupees crore, and in another type, contingency fund raises the finance, it raises money by voluntary grants and donations from the public. So what you currently know as PM CARES Fund is also a type of contingency fund which has no allocation from the union budget, rather than it has voluntary contributions from institutions and individuals across India. Now let us discuss what are revenue receipts. So revenue receipts are basically all the revenues which have been obtained by the central government through taxes and other duties. And all the estimates of revenue receipts are generally visible. They reflect in annual financial statements. It also includes non-tax receipts. So basically the source of government revenue can be tax as well as non-tax. So some examples of non-tax revenues are the revenues obtained from, say, publicly owned electricity firms or publicly owned public transport. You can say Indian Railways. All these are some examples of revenue receipts from non-tax sources. Next we move to revenue expenditure. So revenue expenditure is a normal expenditure by the government for rendering various services and for meeting subsidies, for grants and aid, and for other reasons. However, no allocation from revenue receipts should be made for creation of assets. So revenue expenditure excludes any type of expenditure which is meant to create a physical or financial asset. So excluding those expenditures, all other expenditures which may be made by the center to the state governments or union territories, or directly to its other expenditure heads, that can be clubbed in revenue expenditure. And all the finance which is used for revenue expenditure comes from revenue receipts. To sum this up, both the above terms, revenue budget consists of revenue receipts of the government, which includes tax and non-tax revenues, and expenditure heads from the revenue receipts. So together, receipts and expenditure of revenue constitute the revenue budget. Now, what is Public Account of India? So Public Account of India has also been created under Article 266 by the Constitution of India, and generally all those types of allocations, all small allocations which directly come from public, which may include the money invested by public in, say, public provident fund, or you can say small saving schemes, or generally available at post offices in India. All these are included in Public Account of India. So you can think of schemes like National Saving Certificates or Kisan Vikas Patras, a monthly income scheme, or senior citizen saving scheme. All these are government schemes, and all the money which is invested by the public generally goes directly to the Public Account of India, and it remains there, and as per the constitutional powers and provisions, government is liable to pay back this money to the general public back at the time of maturity. Now let us discuss some more concepts like capital receipts. So capital receipts are loans which are raised by the government from the public, or they can be borrowings by the government from RBI and other parties, like by selling treasury bills, or by taking loans from foreign governments or bodies, say IMF or World Bank. Okay. Similarly, disinvestment of PSUs, whatever government earns, may also be included in capital receipts. While on the other hand, capital expenditure consists of any kind of expenditure which is made by the government on acquisition of assets, like if government wants to buy land, say for setting up of railways or metro, or government wants to expand its offices and want to set up and build buildings, or it wants to buy machinery for public sector units. All these are included in capital expenditure heads. So what is capital budget? So together capital receipts and capital expenditure form the capital budget. So it's a statement about the receipts and expenditure on capital head. Now let us move to finance bill. So generally when annual financial statement is presented before the parliament, a finance bill is also presented, and this is in requirements of article 110 section 1A of the constitution. So finance bill basically has all the details which clarify the imposition, alteration or regulation of taxes proposed in the budget. Sometimes it's also known as money bill, but popularly it is known as a finance bill. Expenditure budget is another key information document made before union budget, and expenditure budget basically contains all the information relating to schemes or programs announced by the union government from time to time, and all the expenditures which have to be allocated in different schemes or programs as per a certain proportion of union budget. You may find all these details in expenditure budget. So here the estimates are made for a scheme or program which are brought together and shown on a net basis, on revenue and capital basis at one place. So this statement basically may include all the expenditures relating to centrally sponsored schemes, or you can say finance commission transfers, so the ones which are recommended by finance commission, and any other transfer to states. We now move to macroeconomic statement, macroeconomic framework statement, which is a very important statement which has projections about the future growth of economy and also the current state of economy. So this statement is presented to the Parliament under Section 3 of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003 and the rules made therein. Basically, in macroeconomic framework statement, you will see the current state of economy with respect to GDP growth rates, inflation rate, import and export trends, fiscal deficit, trade deficit. We also will see some effect of the repo rate, reverse repo rate, or changes in CRR and SLR on the money supply in the economy. And apart from that, basically it also highlights the stability in the domestic economy and the external sector of the economy. It also gives projections about fiscal targets of the government in the future and forthcoming financial year. Now let us try to understand some types of deficit which are commonly used in budget related topics. So we will begin with revenue deficit. So what is revenue deficit? So basically revenue deficit shows you the gap between revenue expenditure and revenue receipts, and when revenue expenditures are greater than revenue receipts, there is a gap which is known as revenue deficit. What is fiscal deficit? So fiscal deficit is basically a gross term. So when you include both the capital and revenue expenditures, and you include and sum up both the capital and revenue receipts, and then take a difference between expenditure and revenues, it gives you fiscal deficit. So basically in simple terms, I can say that the difference between the total expenditure of government by way of revenue, capital and loans, net of repayments on one hand, and revenue receipts of government and capital receipts which are not in the nature of borrowing but which accrue to government on the other, constitute fiscal deficit. So basically in simple terms, again I can say that the difference between total expenditure and total revenues of central government gives us the fiscal deficit. So what is primary deficit? So primary deficit, or what you know as gross primary deficit, is gross fiscal deficit minus gross interest payments. So when you subtract interest payments from fiscal deficit, whatever is the remainder, that gives you primary deficit. So in today's session, we have discussed broadly all the terms which are commonly used in budget documents. And in next session, we will have a look at what are the key documents released by Ministry of Finance, which highlight the state of Indian public finances and which also give details of budget proposals and also about the current state of finance, public finance with the central and with the central government in the next session. Till then, all of you take care and have a good time ahead. Thank you.